In this video, we're going to learn how to find the vertex by completing the square. So these two examples are very unique because we have a fraction for a and a negative number for a on the second one. So what's the procedure? Well, if it's not 1, then you need to factor that number. Remember, this x squared over 2 is the same thing as 1/2 x squared. And it's good to see different forms of these terms so you can know how to manipulate them. Now, if we factor 1/2, you get x squared plus, in order to factor 1/2 from 4, we multiply by the reciprocal of 1/2 to 4. The reciprocal of 1/2 is 2 over 1 times 4 is 8. Notice that the plus 6 is outside the parentheses. Yeah. Now we will use the completing the square method inside the parentheses. So b over 2 squared. B here is 8 over 2 squared is 4 squared, which is 16. So 16 is the number you're going to add and subtract inside the parentheses. Let me separate this. So you have 1/2 x squared plus 8x plus 16 minus 16 plus 6. Now, in order to take this negative 16 outside the parentheses, we need to multiply by 1/2. And remember, we only take out the negative 1, not the positive 1. So minus 1/2 times 16 plus 6. Now, these three terms together will complete the square to the number we have here, b over 2. So this is going to be x plus b over 2 is 4 squared. Negative 1/2 times 16 is negative 8 plus 6. You have x plus 4 squared. Negative 8 plus 6 is negative 2. So the vertex, once you have it in this form, is the coordinate inside the parentheses. We go to the opposite direction, so negative 4. And outside the parentheses, we go to the direction, so negative 2. And that will be your vertex. Now let's do similarly for our next problem. We use a different color to distinguish the different problem. Now notice b again is not 1, so we need to factor it out. So negative 2 x squared minus x. Okay? Now remember, why is it minus x? Because if we distribute negative 2 into negative x, you get positive 2x. Now we're going to use our b over 2 squared. So negative 1 over 2 squared is positive 1/4. So we have negative 2 x squared minus x plus 1/4 minus 1/4 plus 1. Now again, in order to take out the negative 1/4 outside the parentheses, you need to distribute. So negative 2 times negative 1/4 plus 1. Now these three factor perfectly into b over 2. So this is going to be x minus 1/2 squared. Negative times negative is positive. So this is positive 2 over 4 plus 1. So you have negative 2 x minus 1/2 squared. Now, common denominators, 2/4 plus 4/4. That gives you negative 2 x minus 1/2 squared plus 6/4. Therefore, your vertex is the opposite of the sign inside the parentheses, so it's positive 1/2. And 6/4 can be simplified to 3/2. It's up to you. And that will be how you'll find the vertex using completing the square. If you have any questions, please ask them in class or leave it in the comments below. Thank you.